Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to your Sunday night live stream. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis. Pleased to be joined by the estimable Jerry Hamilton. Shout out to our sponsors, Prize Picks and Von Lane. We'll tell you more about them coming up a little bit later on, but the show belongs to you. All right, whatever you guys want to talk about, throw it out there. Questions, comments, we'll try to address as many of them as we can. Super chats always jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show anytime to throw out your super chat. We can get into that, but news, notes, and nuggets coming out of the first handful of practices, Jerry, out of training camp. Let me just start things off this way before we get into the questions, and I'm sure we'll get plenty of them. So, guys, we'll kind of make it a unofficial Q&A. So, to just throw out whatever you guys want to talk about. Is there a name that you didn't expect to be hearing so much of in the first few practices that you've heard, which would be a pleasant surprise, obviously, that you've heard a lot about so far in the first few practices? Because I got one that I didn't expect to hear it, and it's good for the overall complexion of the roster.
Okay. So we don't have the same guy, I don't think.
No, I don't think we do. We might. I don't know.
Probably Cohen Brown.
Oh, good. Okay.
Because look, he's a great athlete. Okay, we know that. He's built like a running back playing. He's built like a third down back playing wide receiver.
Yeah.
But I think just. When Ryan Niblett says, "Oh, he's the fastest player on the team,"
that was crazy. Yeah.
And then Saturday, you heard he made a couple of plays late. Okay, down the field. Okay, so I think he would probably be one because I think there's right now we're sitting on probably four
freshmen
that are going to be more than special teams players. We know Jeff and I are actually going to have a video on that topic tomorrow, so we won't go into much detail. But mine is Cohen Brown because of the impact I think he's made on this team with his sheer athleticism. But he's also strong enough as a freshman to maybe break in somehow, some way, Rod. He's not built like the average freshman. Who's your guy?
That's a good one, actually. So we didn't have the same one. It's at the same position, though. It's probably Khalil Lockett.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Just because there's been so much discussion about the wide receiver position, obviously Cam Coleman and the ridiculous highlight, viral catches that he's making. But Ryan Wingo, we talked about him in Mosley. Jermaine Bishop comes up a lot in those conversations too. But Khalil Lockett actually has come up more than a few times in these discussions and updates about the practice so far. Still just a handful of practices, but I like that. That's a guy that in that wide receiver room that has now become one of the most competitive position rooms in the country. That's what you're talking about. That's put it into perspective. It's one of the most competitive position rooms in the country. You got this young man now starting to, rise to the occasion. And separate from the other guys.
I think the big thing when you get a kid like that, and I call him a kid because he was 17 years old leaving high school, 17 and change. And he came out as a very wiry, thin. Now he's wiry, strong. He was wiry, thin leaving high school. Great catch radius, 11-inch hands. I've said many times before, biggest hands on a 6'2" wideout I've ever seen. But now he's wiry, strong. And I do think, Rod, I'm not sure if you were on that video or not, but I say he looks like he's gotten a little faster because he didn't really have track times coming out. His elite trait was high point, timing, and body control when balls in the air. That was his elite trait coming out.
Yeah.
And he showed that and flashed it a little bit, especially in the catch against Michigan, right? But if he's getting a little bit faster right now, if he's starting to add that speed, athleticism to his elite trait, then he's got a chance to take a big step as a wide receiver. But I think his kind of emergence in camp, what it's done is it helps Texas staff, obviously, but the fan base also say, okay, we feel pretty good if we have a guy stepping up in case there's an injury. Because where you don't want to be is if one of your starters gets hurt and you throw your hands up saying, we don't have anybody that's really made a move that's playing behind this guy. Now, Burkhalter had a good spring, but now you have Khalil Lockett coming on. So now you feel like, okay, we can sustain an injury if we have to go through it a little bit.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's the wide receiver room. I mean, we just brought up two names. I think this season, that circle of trust I talk about, I think it's going to be a little wider because Dalen McCutcheon's a name we don't talk about enough in that group either. I saw somebody just say Space Jam. That is an awesome nickname for Campbell.
We need to come up. That's a good one.
That's
Eric Coleman's pretty good. He missed Shark Week back a week and a half, right? He missed Shark Week.
Hey,
Eric Coleman.
Eric Coleman's good. I like the Space Jam.
Space Jam Coleman.
Space Jam is good, man. The Space Jam, if he just keeps making Cirque du Soleil catches like that, I like the Space Jam one. Yeah, he'll have a cool nickname because I love your theory, Jerry. Honestly, it makes sense that, and like I said, it sounds like a slight. Sounds like you're trying to disrespect Arbin, and you're not. But he did have a lot of inaccurate throws to adjust to, at Arbin, and he had to, obviously make the best out of a difficult situation, and he still was productive, even though he didn't have the pieces he's going to have around them at Texas. And that's what practice is for, kind of experimenting with your upside as an athlete, right? And your creativity as an athlete. Andy Reid actually says that about Patrick Mahomes, and he always encourages Patrick Mahomes to do that crazy stuff at practice.
Yeah,
do it at practice. And so you can rep it. And so the extraordinary becomes more routine to you because you do it at practice a lot, and you take those chances and you realize, oh, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can't do that. And so I think that's a fantastic theory. And I think you're right on the money, Jerry. That's why it's actually going to benefit him. The fact that he was in a very difficult situation offensively with Arbin for all those years.
Hey, there's something we need to address because it's taking over the chat.
Uh-oh.
Look, that ball was not tipped, guys. And it shouldn't be this big of a topic. It's funny it is. You're gonna have to trust me. 100% was not. Sometimes the guy's foot slips out from under him. Sometimes the guy doesn't have a great grip on the ball. It slips out of his hand. What would cause that ball to be like that? It's not. That ball was not tipped, guys. It's not the end of the world that it wasn't tipped, but that ball was not tipped. 100%. Take it to the bank.
Now, so Longhorn fans, some of y'all get upset. Don't be upset.
It's just crazy that has become a topic of conversation.
No, it was the number one. Honestly, after I watched the catch, that was the top discussion on Twitter and social media.
It doesn't take much for something to happen. Your foot could get caught in the turf, right? And you're suddenly off balance. Ball can slip out of your hand.
Yeah, bad grip on the ball.
Bad grip on the ball. It doesn't mean the sky's falling, but the ball was not tipped.
Yeah, see, got to set the record straight on that one. All right, let's get the super chats. We got some super chats. Let's get those in first. How about from Coach Scott? Oh, sorry, Brandon up first. Hey, B Morgan, what's up? 8081, what's up, brother? Good to hear from you. It says, Rod B and Jerry, my favorite show of the week. How far do you think Arch will get overall if you had to say by what you have seen so far up to this point in time? Well,
I mean, my goal for Arch is the same. It's 60. I want to look up at the end of the year, 65.5, 66% completion percentage. I mean, it's not about how many yards he throws for or touchdowns he throws for. I think if you can get from 61, what was he, 3 last year, to 65.5 to 66, that means your drop rate's probably gone down.
Probably.
Or catchable passes has gone up slightly. And you combine those, and if you can get the 65.5, 66%, that he will have a hell of a year, Rod, because this is not an offense. This is an offense that's going to throw the ball down the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what Sark wants to do with Arch. Space Cam. I know. Actually, that's money. I'm writing it. That's what I was writing down, actually.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's money. We'll get back to it. But to your point about Arch, yeah, I mean, specifically, there's some things that, I want to see him clean up and refine about his overall skill set. But, I just need him this season. I need him to be more consistent. And I think he was toward the end of the year. You saw more consistency in his game. And I need him to be clutch. I need him to show he's got the clutch gene.
Yeah.
And you're going to need it plenty of times. I'm talking about the fourth quarter comebacks, game-winning drive situations. I got a feeling, your season in a couple of scenarios may come down to whether he's got the clutch gene. If you're gonna win a championship, usually your quarterback shows you he's got the clutch gene. And I've seen flashes of it, but with this schedule, you're going to see it a lot from Arch to put the cape on and put the team on his back. He's got the weapons around him to do that. But yeah, you want to be nitpicky. You know, I want to see him be better on crossing routes, completing crossing routes. That's kind of a I think for him, that's not a natural strength in his game. I'd like to see him. We talked about the quick game. He's not naturally Tennessee linebacker out for the year. Oh, we'll talk about that, Paxton. Good update. I'd like to see him be more accurate in the quick game. That includes the RPO game for Sark. That part of his skill set. But like I said, that's being nitpicky. I mean, overall, I think last season toward the end, he showed off really what he can do, how he can be a weapon, like with his legs and with the deep ball. And I was going back and watching some of the games. There was so many times Texas dropped the football in crucial, critical situations. We're talking about third downs, deep balls that could have kind of changed the momentum of games. Hopefully, you don't have those situations this season. You keep those drives alive and make some of those big explosive plays that you were lacking last season.
I think a big thing with Arch based on last year that I'm kind of looking for, and he, obviously, guys, he's going to be a better player this year than he was last year. It's a natural progression of guys, of players as they get more experience. But I thought at times, Rod, last year with him, that especially when he went from scanning one side of the field to the other, that the eyes were in position and the feet weren't working together in sync with the eyes. And it would look like at times the feet stopped moving and it caused bad arm angle, right? It caused inaccuracy. I think marrying the feet and the eyes, scanning cross field, I think it's going to be a big thing to watch for with Arch this year. If you say, okay, that's more consistently better in year 2 as a starter than year 1, I think you're going to see that completion percentage go up.
Okay. Well, I agree with that. That's a good point. I think that, and then maybe that's just with more experience, like you said.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that super chat, B. Morgan. We appreciate it. Up next, another super chat here. How about this one from Coach Scott? Thank you. Over under 41 draft picks on the roster this year. Oh, man. Oh, talking about all from freshmen all the way up to upperclassmen and seniors. That's
half the 85 because it's, like it's hard to count 41 of 105 because a lot of guys are brought in and that's not really what they're brought in to be. So 41.
I mean, you're supposed to have 12 potentially in this draft alone.
15 up to 15,
somewhere around there.
The whole key with how many draft picks I think come out of this roster right now, I think a big part of it is that number 1 class in 2025. They're going into year 2. Where are those guys at? Because look, I mean, the thing about that class is Texas really likes the young offensive lineman. I mean, Jordan Coleman's worked at left tackle, right tackle, and left guard. He's worked at 3 positions already through 4 days of camp. That's kind of a crazy number for a redshirt freshman. Devin Coleman is locked into that second team right guard. Jackson Christian's performing really well as the second team center. They really like those guys. There's wild cards. Okay, Justice Terry looks healthy. Okay, if he's a healthy football player in the next couple of years, obviously he's going to the NFL. He's just that talent. Jonah Williams, where does it go for Jonah Williams in regard to health? Because that guy's an NFL prospect if he can ever get healthy and get on the field. He is going to be that type of guy. And then your young D lineman, Sharman, Charles, the patience those guys have to have one more year, I think. That doesn't mean they're not going to get on the field some as the 6th D lineman or fight for that 6th spot, but a little more patience and development staying at Texas. I think that's the hard thing with looking out, projecting that many NFL players is not all these guys stick around long enough to develop. But that class has a lot of NFL possibilities. They're ranked number 1 for a reason. If they will stick it out and continue their development and get to next season.
That's a good question though. 41 is a big number, but
it's a big number.
Yeah, I got to go look at some because I know there's some of those Georgia teams. I know they kept up with like how many draft picks ultimately that 2022 team had on it, or that 21 team or something like that. So that's what you'd be talking about, looking at it from obviously projecting for a couple of years. But I mean, Sark should be this year. You should be able to knock off 12 to 15 if the season if you go as far in the playoff and have as much success as everyone anticipates. 12 to 15 draft picks, I think, for Texas is realistic. I know that sounds like a big number, but that actually is a realistic number for Texas.
Yeah.
All right. Getting back to the super chats here. How about my man B? See, there you go. All right. Wait.
Got to get the helmet, Rod. I guess I got to go double hats here or something.
You go double hat. Boom. There you go. Oh, appreciate you, B. Morgan. Appreciate you, buddy. All right, I'm gonna snap it up. I'm gonna strap it up for you too, because it's training camp, baby. We got to get ready. He said, "Rod, let's bring you back to this secondary. I know it will be in great hands. I wish. I'm too old for that, man. Father time is brutal." He says, "Love you guys on OTF, and what it had meant to me is unexplainable. 25 days left to go. Hook 'em horns." Woo! Appreciate you, Bree Morgan. Thanks for the love, brother. Means a lot to us as well. 20. I mean, it's crazy that we're in the midst of training camp already. They haven't officially. I mean, the pads start popping soon. That's when you'll learn a lot. This is actually the fun part of training camp for these guys. Obviously,
Monday gets real, right, Rod? Monday.
Yeah, it's a lot different than when I played, because you're at actual 2-a-days in training camp, and they probably put on pads sooner and probably had more days with pads overall. But that's the true separation, right? We're talking about the offensive line. That's the biggest issue. Honestly, it's great to watch the big men get out there and do drills and move around and see how their bodies transformed in the offseason. That's all great. But that really don't matter. What matters is when they put the pads on, who can go out there and move another human being against their will. That's what's going to matter. And that's when you'll get the separation right there. What did Bobby call it? It's musical chairs at left guard. Yeah, right now it is. But honestly, that'll shrink pretty soon.
Yeah.
That group of musical chairs, because once they put the pads on, you'll find out who actually can go out there as a run blocker and move other guys, and who can go out there in pass protection and hold up against some athletic freaks. Because Texas D-line they got great guys, great assets on defense to be able to test the weaknesses of potential offensive line combinations, which is really good too. And so all those questions, we want to know about safety. Well, safety, you won't find a true separation until you put the pads on and find out if Kobe Black can go down there and actually, put his face on somebody and be a force in the run game. We won't know that until the pads get on. So I can't wait to start hearing those updates. Those are going to be real fun. But thank you, Brandon. We appreciate that super chat. All right, before we get back to the super chats, let me thank our sponsors. Let's thank our friends over at Prize Picks really quickly, then we'll jump back into the conversation. But thank you very much to our friends over at Prize Picks. If you're not picking with Prize Picks, you're doing yourself a disservice, folks. It's America's #1 sports picks apps, and honestly, it's about as simple as it gets. It's really easy for players picks. All you do is choose more or less on a few player stats, and you lock in your lineup. That's it. But if you like to pick teams instead of players, that's cool. Prize Picks has you covered there as well. You can now pick the winner, the spread, the total on games, even fights. Prize Picks is available in most states, including the great state of Texas, California, and Florida. So chances are you can jump in right now. And one of the new features is that you can follow users. Actually, if you like their picks, you can tell them actually with one click, and you can follow your friends as well. You can troll them, have a little fun there. And here's the best part. If you've never tried Prize Picks, now is a great time. Play your first $5 lineup, and if you win, you'll get $150 in bonus lineup. So just make sure to use the code HMA. All right, use that code when you sign up. They actually update the offer, so now it's a great time for you to take advantage. Download the Prize Picks app right now. Use the code HMA. Play the first $5 lineup, and if you win, you'll get $150 in bonus lineups. That's Prize Picks. Code HMA. Don't forget that. Good luck, and as always, play smart, play responsibly. Play Prize Picks. All right, thank you very much. All right, thanks to my friend Brandon Morgan. Appreciate you, baby. OTA fam #1. Thanks for that super chat. All right, next super chat. Appreciate you guys. Who's next up? I believe we got is it Edward. Thank you very much. Edward says, I've been trying to tell people that it is not a foregone conclusion. The Bell is going to be the starter next season. KJ is something else. Yeah, I mean the KJ Lacey reports also. Not surprising, but they continue to be very optimistic Like we haven't. I don't know if we've heard a report since he was in the spring was QB1 for the spring while Arch was recovering. We have not really heard reports about there's been a regression or
Yeah.
this that the coach.
Sark went the other way at SEC Media
Yes.
Days when I asked him. He got the longest answer he gave. I didn't expect him to talk 2.5 minutes on KJ when I asked the question. I was just like, hey, where is he? I agree. I think it's going to be a hell of a competition there. I think KJ's been, from what I hear, has been very good first 4 days. Very good. And obviously he takes all the 2 reps. But it'll be a heck of a competition. The thing with Diaz, look, this is such a big year for Dia, not from a development in terms of throwing the football. He's very gifted. Getting his body stronger and ready. I mean, he's missed a lot of off-season time because of the injuries. I think this is a heck of a big year for him to get his body stronger while developing and getting used to college football at a very high level. Because when you're injured as much as he has been, that cuts into your time to get stronger. And so he's behind there where he should be on his frame right now. He'll get to play a little catch up this year. But him and KJ, that'll be a heck of a competition whenever that happens. And KJ's been really good so far.
Yeah, I saw that comment that Texas hasn't had a quarterback battle on the 40 acres in a while, and that is true. I think it's 2021, right? Was it Casey Thompson, Hudson Card? Said your last QB battle was that? I believe that was a QB battle, and then that's it. That was it. Quinn came in as the, kind of.
Yeah, that was the quarterback battle to keep Hudson Card from transferring. That was not
was that a battle? I apologize.
That was not. No, hey Rod, I'm air quoting. That was not a quarterback competition.
Okay, yeah.
That was not that was played out by the media like a quarterback competition. There was no quarterback competition. They were trying to keep Hudson Card from transferring. Quinn was going to be a starting quarterback.
And by the way, it was smart because they needed Hudson Card.
100%.
They actually, that's why the backup matters. Actually, it's a smart move because you need your backup. You need a capable one. And Texas has done a good job of keeping capable backups around. Hopefully, KJ Lacey is the next one. All right. Do we have another one here? I think we have one more super chat there. Is that from Matt? Thank you, Matthew. That's from Matthew. Thank you for the super chat. It says, what recruit that flipped from Texas was the worst loss? Oh, man. That flipped from Texas. That was the worst. All time? We talking about all time here? That was actually committed, not that.
Chat, throw some names out there. I'm coming up blank on this for some reason.
So they actually have to be committed, though, right? Not just recruiting.
Coach committed? Scott has a great one recently.
Who is it?
John Mills, freshman All-American at Washington, would have been your starting left guard.
Damn, that's true. Okay,
Matthew A. Lippman says all time.
That does hurt.
Coach Scott, that's a great one from a year ago. John Mills is a freshman All-American. He's looking like a 3-year player at guard. He would have been your starting left guard. Texas did not want to lose him. They loved him. Washington, a lot of family members went and played sports at Washington, as we kind of chronicled throughout his recruitment. And Washington went really big on NIL to keep him home. Yeah, he's a really good football player. And he was one of those guys that was underrated in high school because of where he played. Not many people go up and evaluate that school in that area. And if you don't go to a lot of camps, put those testing numbers on the board. But that guy's tape was always really good. And you could tell he was super intelligent when we had him on these shows. I was always a fan of his. I didn't know he'd be a freshman All-American, but I was always a fan of his. All time, I mean –
that's good.
He ended up, obviously, some people say he's the biggest bust. But, I mean, do we want to go all the way back to Marcus Dupree? Like, he was the number 1 player in America out of Philadelphia, Mississippi, and then Texas thought they had him. Oklahoma had him. I think he might have been privately committed to Texas at one point in time. I mean, are we going back that far? I don't know. But Cade was Texas, flipped LSU, and flipped back. Ryan Perilou, LSU. That one was interesting because there was some chatter that if Ryan had stuck with Texas, that Colt could have ended up at Kansas State or LSU. I'm not saying it would have happened, but back in that day. That's kind of what I remember behind the scenes of that recruitment. It's hard to believe that would have happened, but there was some backroom chatter. Kyler Murray was Marcus Myers brings up Kyler was never committed.
Yeah.
He was never committed, but I will say this.
That was wild. I remember that.
Yeah. I was extremely, extremely close to that one. Multiple people in his family wanted him to make the flip. Like, now Stephen Hughes says it's the opposite. Stephen Hughes said allegedly Kyler wanted to commit to Texas. It was the opposite. A couple of people in his family really wanted him to go to Texas. That was caught up in the whole Johnny Manziel thing. Obviously, A&M had some Mo there.
Wow.
A couple of people, one very, very important person in that family wanted him to go to Texas, but he let his kid make his own decision, man. And then once it didn't work out at A&M, he made the second decision for him, and it worked out.
That was definitely the right decision.
Yes. Kyler had one chance, and after that, somebody stepped in and said, "This is the best decision. You need to go here."
It turns out they were right. Yeah. All right. Next super chat here coming up. I believe it's from is Rocky P up? Is that Rocky P? Yeah. Thank you very much, Rocky P. We appreciate the super chat. Says, let's take off the Muschamp colored glasses for a second. Okay, let's do it. New coordinator with a completely different system. How hard is it to learn a new system and implement to start the season?
That's a great question for you, Rod.
It is a great question.
What you say to this one, because it's a total opposite scheme change.
I went and looked at this actually. I went and looked at last season's defensive coordinators. I want to say if you look at like the top 20 and top 25, almost half the coordinators were like first year or second year defensive coordinators. They were relatively new to the system. So you can have success with a new system. With a new defensive coordinator. That to me wouldn't be a huge issue because we've seen it, and I'll find that research here. I'm sure some of my papers here. I just have to look for it. But it's interesting because I think Muschamp's system, if you go look at the history of it, he's had his most success when it kind of no shock when he's had a lot of talent, like the most talented teams, right? The LSU teams from those Nick Saban days, going back to time at Florida, here at Texas, right? 08. You're talking about some uber talented rosters. I do think he benefits from that right now at Texas. That he's got he's got Colin Simmons, who may be the best edge defender and pass rusher in college football. You've got some freakish young edges, like Lance and Zena, and you got, Brad Spence to work with, and Richard
Wesley they love.
Richard Wesley they love. So I think also he's benefiting from having a tremendous amount of talent available to him, where he can really get deep into his scheme. So I do think and I'm taking off the glasses. I think if there were more question marks on this defense, there's a couple, safety, what's going to be a safety, who's going to be the second best pass rusher on the team. Yeah, a couple of questions, but I don't know if there are any tragic flaws, right? Now, if they don't find, if the safety position turns out to be, they don't have anybody that can play out of all four of the best options, then yeah, we got a problem. But I don't think we anticipate that being the case, right? They'll find somebody out of the group. We just don't know who it's going to be. Right now, Derek Williams is the front runner. But because he doesn't really have any true like tragic flaws on the defense, I think the defense will be. And I think also what's going to help him is we don't know how Muschamp defense is going to look. You can say, all right, let's just try to game plan against the Kirby Smart Muschamp Schumann defenses that we saw in most recently in 22 and 23, but different personnel. That's you're 3 years removed from that. Muschamp will be calling all the shots, personnel shots. He'll be calling the actual defense, whether he did at Georgia or not, we don't know, but he'll be calling this one. We know that, and there won't be any input from really other coaches. Like, no, this is his defense. He calls the shots, the buck stops with him. So I do think there are a lot of things to consider, and it'll be a relatively new scheme that'll help him early on. I do think because teams won't know how to attack him. They won't know what the strengths and the weaknesses of his defense are yet. They won't actually know what his tendencies are yet. But halfway through the season, when there is the sample size and there's film out there, and there's a guy like Lane Kiffin kind of waiting around, it's like I do think you'll have a couple of games where there'll be enough sample size out there where you'll see the growing pains. I don't know what games they're gonna be. I think they'll be like after the halfway point, after there's enough on film where teams go, oh, this is how I want to attack this Muschamp scheme. This is what he's going to do on third down. This is what he's going to do in the red zone. This is what he likes to do, on first down. Once they get that in the sense of that, in the sense of the personnel, then I think I ain't saying they're gonna light them up, but I think, like I said, the growing pains will be on display scheme-wise, and then he'll make the necessary adjustments. I don't think you'll get a dominant defense every game from this Muschamp scheme. I do think it'll be an advantage early on because there's no real history to game plan against, a recent history to game plan against. And I do think it'll hit I don't know if I hit a wall, but like I said, I think there'll be enough out there for you to be able to game plan against it successfully and effectively. And then there will be a kind of reinvention of it toward the end going into the playoff. That's my prediction.
The one thing I'll say about a question like that, the portal changes everything for coaching changes. If you're there to recruit as in portal season. I mean, imagine if there wasn't a portal and Muschamp had walked in and you don't add Bo Masco and you don't add a Rasheem Biles and you don't add Ian Jaffrard, who's probably the most is always going to be a little underrated. But think about if you walk in and you can't get those guys. We're having a different conversation right now. So the portal is great for the coaching changes. But by the way, Antoine with a great one. This is one of the more underrated recent decommits. Thank you. Antoine's on all. Quentin Johnston out of Temple, the receiver. His tape was tremendous. He was underrated nationally by everybody. That guy, that at the time, I think that was really underrated flip. He was a difference maker level athlete. Man, the way he moved, it was just easy. He had the size. That's a good one, Antoine, of recent years. Quentin Johnson was a big flip to TCU from Texas.
Uh-oh. B-boy, he's up to it again. There he is. There he goes. Making it rain once again. Woo! Thank you, Brandon. We appreciate that super chat, brother. As always, we appreciate the love. Says Rod, let's sell this. What's my new name? OTF fam number one, or people? You know what? It's OTF fam number one. That's the official. Then they got the unofficial. So you got some kind of nicknames with me too, because I feel like we're close now at this point. But no, it's OTF fam number one. No doubt, brother. You got it. That's for sure. Keep trying. You can keep trying to prove it, but I'll keep showing you the love.
But Brandon, I also have a question though. Do you want to have a nickname similar to Cam Coleman? Do you want to be Air Morgan? You want to be Air Morgan? You want something like that? A specialty name? Let us know. $100 super chat. We'll throw out names. You can name yourself.
That's why I said you deserve multiple nicknames, man. There you go. You deserve multiple nicknames, all right? Because you show so much love, and a lot of our OTF fam, they got nicknames out there. Because we hang out with you guys every day. So CB, everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say CB. What's up, CB? But thank you, man. Hey, Brandon, we appreciate it. See, sometimes I'm gonna call you by your Christian name. Thank you, Brandon. We appreciate it very much. It does mean a lot to us. Keep showing us the love. Can't wait for the season to get started too, because we know. When people get hyped during the season, y'all gonna be trying to make it rain. As long as the Longhorns keep winning, scoring points, it's gonna be a fun season. All right, let's get to. Are we done? Oh, how about this one from Arthur? Says, "Will Texas finally be able to rely on inside zone?" Yeah, that's an interesting question because I think Texas is going to get back to try to run the outside zone, like they did in 2024, and kind of build some more concepts around it. Texas actually ran more power and gap schemes this year than they ran zone schemes, which was a change. Every year Sark has been here, has been more of a zone run team than a gap power run scheme. And I do think they would try. And by the way, some of that is Arch. When they run Arch, they run a lot of gap power schemes when they decide to run Arch, whether they be in the red zone, goal line, or situationally. Yep. And also what I think they wanted for CJ Baxter was him to take ownership of, kind of the, the run game, the passing game, and the or his role in that running back room and within the running game, and they wanted him to be more of the change of pace from the Trey Wisner, who was running a lot of their zone outside zone concepts, to being a guy that can run their power concepts, their gap scheme concepts. And before his injury, he was going to be great at that, but then the injury happened, and we all know. So everything was kind of I think for Texas, they really had to adjust on the fly, and they really didn't have a bread and butter to their run game last season. The bread and butter in 2024 and 2023 was outside zone. And Bijan and Rojo, everything was available, right? You can run everything well because Bijan can run everything well. So you didn't really need a run game identity. Run game identity was give it to Bijan. And then when he's tired, give it to Rojo. Yeah. But without those like elite talents at running back, and those other guys, and I'm not saying they're not NFL players, but Bijan is on a different level. You need to kind of forge a run game identity based on the strengths of that running back room. And I think because of Raleigh Brown and because of Hollywood Smothers, I think they're going to get back to running in tackles, right? You got your best, you maybe one of the best tackle, come back to that. You had elite tackles, NFL tackles when you were running outside zone really well. You got maybe the best tackle combination in the SEC, one of the best in the country. Get ready to kind of stabilize those blocks on the outside zone there. I think that's where they're going to get back to being that bread and butter concept. Inside zone, I've seen them run inside zone. I've never seen them really run it in a dominant fashion. It'd be like part of the identity of their run game. I've seen them run more duo and run duo well. They like duo insert. They run that well. It's kind of their gap power schemes, but inside zone, they run a lot of it. I don't know how well I say Texas runs the inside zone.
Yeah, I think their best chance to incorporate is if I think Derek Cooper has Roschon Johnson's mentality as a running back.
Oh, that's good.
Now, as a freshman, is he ready to be a guy? And he's going to play, don't get me wrong. He's 100% going to play. I think he's very good. But is he ready to go next level as a freshman? I think he can do it. I think he's the guy. I think he has that Roschon mentality, but is he truly ready? It might look like he's ready from time to time. Is he truly ready? I have a lot of confidence in Derek Cooper. I think he's super mature. That's why he's come in and just crushed it early, like Cedric Baxter was just a super mature guy. Kelvin Banks, super mature guy in that regard, football maturity. So we'll see on that. Hey, a question I want to hit on, because I think it's an interesting question, Rod. Paxton 941. Do you think Cam Coleman will do better than Little Jordan? So will Cam Coleman go 85 receptions for 1,200 yards this year at Texas? I'm going to say no. But what that made me think of, Paxton, was can you imagine this receiver core in the Big 12? Then I would say absolutely yes. But this isn't in the Big 12. I mean, if you rolled out Cam Coleman, Wingo, and Emmett Mosley in the Big 12 right now,
yeah,
I'll go an old school Katie bar the door saying, I mean, that would be ugly for their opponents.
I still think, even in the SEC, where I think you'd have better defenders overall, it's still hard to find, 3 quality coverage specialists.
That's right.
Usually there's one of those 3 guys, whether it be, the top 2 corners or that star. Usually you don't have 3. Texas actually is one of the few teams. I mean, there are a few secondaries where I think they do have 3 guys who are high level coverage specialists, but then maybe you can pick on a safety, like whoever's going to win that safety spot for Texas. I guarantee you, opposite Jelani McDonald will get picked on early and often, and it'll probably be Derek Williams. Why wouldn't you? Because Texas doesn't have a lot of weaknesses really in the secondary. So I'm with you. I think Texas can really kind of pick who they want to attack and exploit game to game, based on how teams want to attack them, because they really don't have a flaw in that receiving core right now.
Rod, here's another great one. While we're on the subject, man, Coleman versus Devin Sanchez. If Sanchez travels with him, that's going to be a hell of a matchup. Devin Sanchez is really good. Really, really, really good. Ohio State says he's better than Jeff Okudah.
I can see them shadowing him with Coleman. Well, if Sark's going to lead, because he's got a less than a 10% slot rate in his career. So he usually just kind of stays on the outside. If Sark's going to use him the way Auburn used him, which he won't, then yeah, you can just pretty much shadow him, and he can go from sideline to sideline, and you can still keep the kind of the basic structural integrity of your defensive scheme. But man, if you're shadowing, true shadowing, and Sark lines that guy up flex, and he puts him in the slot, and he puts him in the bunch, and he puts him, you know what I mean, all these freaky formations. Oh, you really can. You can basically force him to reveal whatever the coverage of the defense is going to be, or you're going basically Devin Sanchez is going to make a lot of money because he would have to be able to play boundary corner, he had to play field corner, play the slot, play safety sometimes if he's really going to shadow him without sacrificing the structural integrity of the defense. That would be fascinating. I know Leonard Moore has done some of that with Notre Dame, but Notre Dame don't give a damn if you know they're playing man. They don't care. They literally are like, we don't care if you know we're playing man. We're that good at it. We're that good playing man. You can know, oh, that man coverage, and still you struggle to get the football down the field. Like, that's how good they are playing press man. Not everybody can do that. That's what Muschamp wants to be. Muschamp wants to be like, I don't give a damn if you know we're playing man. Line them up.
Yeah.
But that's like, you got 3 or 4 schools in the country that can do that. Ohio State is one, though. Ohio State does have the athletes to do it. That's a fascinating one. I think Sark moves around receivers way too much for that. His slots are his number one receivers are in the slot at least on average 25% of the time.
Yeah.
And if you go look at the amount of times he's got guys in a bunch formation, or that's minus splits close to the line of scrimmage, it's hell to be trying to follow. And then the condensed sets where he's got everybody kind of lined up, bunched in there together. It's hell trying to shadow a Sark. It's better to just kind of, double team that guy, or, or play some type of safety over the top of his number one receiver rather than shadow him. But we'll see. It's a good conversation. Oh, I did find the research. I remember we had the question about first year defensive coordinators take off the Muschamp colored glasses. If you look at the top 26 defenses in scoring defense last season, 12 of the top 26 had first year DCs. So to Jerry's point, you got the dog, you got veteran players in the portal who conceptually understand football. They may not know your system and your terminology, but they know ball at this point. So it don't take long to acclimate and plug those guys in. So I think that's why you're seeing first year DCs have more success early on. Yeah. So Derry, thank you for the super chat. Says, is Michael Terry's best position possibly on defense? No,
and here's why. This is why. You have to want to play defense. Like, that was my whole thing. I knew somebody close to Michael Terry coming out of high school. I said, here's my question. Does he want to play defense? And he said, no, he wants to play offense. Then he can't play defense. It just doesn't work that way. It's the whole Cedric Cormier thing, Rod. A lot of colleges had said Cormier as the number 1 or 2 corner in America. He had no interest in playing it. So it's like, that's wasted time. You got to want to be a defensive player.
Great point.
Be a defensive player.
That's a great name to do. Did he run like a 4.2 or something?
4.29 at U of H camp.
Yeah, he was so fast.
So fast. But he had no interest in playing corner. So it's like, you can't – defense doesn't work that way. But the point is –
you're right.
If he had interest in playing defense, same thing with Nick Townsend. Like, go past Michael Terry. Nick Townsend could have been a hellacious overhang linebacker, but he wanted to be an offensive player to this point in his career. So talking about it is kind of moot, because if you don't have that mentality of wanting to play defense, you're not going to be successful there.
Nick Townsend, so Jeff brought this up the other day talking about the very same subject. Nick Townsend probably could do, because he's a physical.
He loves the physicality of it.
Yeah, like, so he would have an easier transition. Yes, I agree with you. You got to have the mindset, but he just likes being physical. So he would have an easier transition. I'm not sure that Michael Terry, remember, that was the challenge for him at running back. Be more physical. Let your mindset, align with your stature and your body type. So we'll see. But all right, getting back to super chats here. Justin's up next. Thank you, Justin, for the super chat. Says, Rod, you ready to follow camp? How are the guys feeling about right now? And what are some goals y'all want to see by the end of camp? Guys are excited. I mean, they're about to put the pads on. So the guys are really excited. You got through the kind of the teaching I just kind of the teaching session of training camp. These I think kind of teach the young guys, how to acclimate to training camp. That's why you take young guys like a John Merritt and take him out. Hey, let's come over here. Let me teach you about this, teach you about that. Footwork, this kind of thing. And I think even Mac actually talked about that too. Mac was like, I would say he actually talked to Sark about it and said, one of the things you have to worry about in camp, especially in Texas, guys are so hype early on. You got to ease them into it, because they are hyped. So they're not going to ease into nothing. Guys are just hyped. They're pumped. They're ready to put the pads on. Football is here. And so you can exhaust yourself going 100 miles an hour out there in the heat and be worn out by the time you put all the pads on a little bit. And they want guys fresh when they put the pads on. So it's more of a teaching kind of teaching initiation, if you will, into training camp, more so than it was when I was there. But guys are excited. And I think ultimately for this group, I remember when the expectations changed. It was championship or bust kind of in that locker room. Like that was the conversation. We knew how good we were, right? That's, we became aware of, oh no, this 01, 02 teams, if we won 11 games those years, we knew we actually ended up disappointing and not reaching our goals because we were good enough to compete for national titles. Should have won or competed for the Big 12 title. We did once and didn't win it. But I think that's also something too going on in that locker room now. And now they got social media, so they can't ignore it. But that awareness of no, guys, we need to play to a championship standard. Like that's what's at stake here. And then going out there every day with that urgency, that the lackadaisical steps, that lazy step. That lack of effort or that lapse in focus, all those things are going to come back to haunt you if you don't tighten it up right now. It's the time. So yeah. I do remember that.
My number one goal is the top 11 on both sides of the ball are healthy. That's always my number one. USC already lost their starting center for the year. Tennessee just lost a linebacker for the year. Get me to Texas State game week with your top 11 on both sides of the ball healthy. Don't sustain any major season-ending injuries in camp amongst your top guys.
Yeah, and that Tennessee linebacker, I did see that story that came out. Jaden Harmon, I believe is his name. Yeah. Their edge out a season-ending injury, unfortunately. So to Jerry's point, that's the best news you can get. All right. Before I think we got a couple of more super chats. We'll get to those. Let's thank our sponsor though, really quickly. Our friends over at Von Lane.
Yes.
Dive into the last of our super chats for the night.
The rivalry route is back. Texas OU week just got a whole lot easier, and that is true with the traffic around the state fair. Von Lane is bringing back its Dallas, Oklahoma City route starting September 8th with multiple departures every single day. Riders have been asking for this one, and now it's back. You can book it today. Think about what it takes to fly that route. You're paying for your ticket, then paying again for a seat assignment, again for checking a bag. You're standing in a TSA line, hoping you make your gate. Von Lane is the opposite of that. Flat rate, $129 one way, no extra fees for anything. You boarded a beautiful hotel terminal in minutes, settle into one of 22 oversized leather seats, a ride with Starlink Wi-Fi, complimentary snacks, drinks, hot towel service the whole way. And if you're driving, that's 3+ hours of your day gone, long gone. On Von Lane, that's 3 hours of getting work done, watching film, or just relaxing before you get there. Von Lane connects Austin, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Fort Worth, Plano, the Woodlands, Oklahoma City, Nashville, Memphis, and Atlanta. Book at vonlane.com and enter code OTF26 at checkout for $20 off your first ride. What's Von Lane? It's a private jet on wheels. Why also should you support it? It doesn't go to Lubbock.
Oh, that last line was classic. That was
oh man.
OTF fam number one. That's why I keep the helmet close. Boom. That's why I keep it close. Hey, OTF. See, that's why I call them OTF fam number one. I do it. He's got competitive juices flowing. He said OTF is great with me. Take out fan. He says take out fan though. Jerry, thanks for the idea. Never thought of it up to date. So Jerry, you are like an AI, but better when it comes to football. I love listening to you anytime you're on here. Rod, you're the best all time though. Hey man, appreciate you. And I say OTF fam. I don't say fan actually. I say fam. I say FAM, like family. So just so make sure we're on the same page. For those, when I do say OTF fam, it may sound like I say fan because I talk real fast, but I say OTF fam, baby, because La Familia, our family, baby. That's why I say. So thank you, Brandon. Appreciate that. B Morgan. All right. OTF fam number one, all the nicknames. And you deserve them all, bro. You deserve them all. Texas on my mind says I want Muschamp to be great. I really do, but what's different between Muschamp and Akina? Y'all were doing backflips when Akina was hired, and that is true. The Coach Akina thing obviously did not work out. I think ultimately they wanted to play more man coverage and do it successfully, and you saw they made personnel changes in the secondary too, right? You had a guy that lost his job in the secondary, Jalen Gilbo. You end up with 2 true freshmen starting in the secondary. Think about that. Think about that for a second. Just set that soak in. You ended up with 2 true freshmen starting in your secondary. Yeah. In the day and age of the transfer portal and everything, hell, you ended up with, and then you went out and got a corner. And then you went out and got a corner in Bo Masco, right? Think about what that says about what they thought of that secondary and the talent in that secondary. Like you had a veteran get slabbed. Like that's a big deal by a true freshman. All right. Even though I did predict that Cade Phillips would end up starting at one point in the season, but that was big. And then you had a true freshman that won a job from the jump in that secondary. So yes, those are great. Shows you that those guys may be prodigies and future NFL players, but that also is a negative reflection, in my opinion, on the high level, the upside talent overall in that room at the time. Because that wasn't, I wasn't gonna let that happen when I was on a true freshman wasn't gonna take my job. And it was only going to push me to be better. So yes, Coach Akina thing did not work out, but there was a lot going on in that secondary. That just more than just a Coach Akina thing. He only got there 1 year. I mean, you can't blame it all on him in just the 1 year.
Yeah, I think staffs have to mesh too. I think there's a lot of things that go into this outside of, what you see with your eyes. I think there's one of the things about Muschamp is I think there's pretty good. And look, I think Will Muschamp's one of the better defensive coordinators in my years doing this, obviously. But I think there's probably a pretty good mesh of ideas. People are on the same page. And I would just leave it at that. Blake Gidding coming back in, the coach safeties with Will Muschamp. That's not a surprise there from that mesh. Mark Orfe had GA'd at South Carolina with Muschamp when Muschamp came in. He had he could have even easily gone a different route. He did not. I think Kenny Baker was a great young coach, not good, but great. And I think he really meshes with Muschamp, with that aggressive defensive scheme, what we're going to see from guys up front. So I would just say I think this thing meshes really well. And I think that can have a big impact on success and thought of maybe as a minor impact on success. But to Rod's point, younger guys are growing up too.
Yeah, turns out they ended up being a young secondary, basically, with all the veteran guys you had starting, like Michael Taft and Malik Muhammad. All right, let's get. I think we got one. Oh, there it is. At Brown_Love, thank you for the super chat. Says, is Justice Terry on the Byron Murphy track to success? Oh, I did hear Harold Kanu say. Didn't hear Kanu say something about generational talent potential?
Yeah. I kind of went like this on this. Let's let him play a little bit, because that takes people that might not pay attention on a daily basis right to Colin Simmons and think Justice Terry's Colin Simmons. And I was kind of like, let's let him play a little football first, because I don't think he's Colin Simmons. I think he's really, really talented. But when you use generational, that goes a lot of crazy places, right?
Yep.
It'll be interesting. One thing there's one similarity. There's only one similarity between these two guys for me. Is there's a opportunity for somebody to be a difference maker from a disruptive standpoint on this defensive line and this scheme. So that is the similarity. I think they're. Other than that, I'm not really going to draw comparisons. I mean, look, Justice hasn't been healthy in a year and a half. He's coming off that. Byron Murphy never had injury issues. You were never concerned there about him from when you saw him young in high school on. Just different players. But I think if there's a commonality that could be similar, it could be Justice Terry having an opportunity to be the disruptor of the interior guys, to take hold of that and become that. That's one area I would say there's similarity.
But that's why Justice Terry and Andrew Ford are so important, because I think they are unique, because one is a true disruptive force and you don't have another one like that really. Even though you're deep in the interior D line, Justice Terry can actually, I think, make a lot of those splash plays that you didn't have last year from that group. Right. And then Andrew Ford, no player among your D tackles last year had at least 100 snaps in the A gap to play that true nose. That's his expertise. That's his specialty. He's one of the best in the country in college football at playing right over the ball. So they're just unique. You don't really have guys in that room that can do what they do and that they're really good at. So I agree with you on that, Jared. Good point. All right. I think, yep, there it is. D-Train. What's up, D-Train? Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. Says, rumors are that Arch hurt his foot in 2024. True? And if so, did that impact his mechanics last year? Also, what's your first take on his delivery so far? Thank you for the super chat, D-Train.
I've had the same take on this the whole time. I'm not getting into overanalyze. The games are what matters to me. Like, look, I'll say it for instance. Okay, so say you were at an open practice. Okay, one of the two media days, and say you're down watching the defensive lineman, but say you just take a glance and you see Arch make a pass that wasn't accurate. If you weren't watching it, you might not know that ball slipped out of his hand. Like, I was watching one play where the ball literally, you could tell it slipped out of his hand. Not a good throw. What I'm saying is, unless you're sitting there watching every rep from start to finish, Rob, we've all been there. You can be down there watching linebackers, okay, and then you flip your head between reps and you might see something out of the corner of your eye. Mm-hmm. And he'd say, oh, Arch, well, he made a bad pass, but you don't know why. It was 100 degrees out there. Ball slipped out a couple of quarterbacks' hands. They went right to the towel after that and kind of had a laugh about it. So that's the one. But my take on Arch is, look, this is all about in the football game starting September for me. I think on air, look, I think, Rod, I think the thing with athletes has always been this. It can be the way you shoot a basketball. If your guide hand is an issue, Texas is working on the guide hand with David Punch right now. Mm-hmm. It can be anything. It can be your footwork as a DB you've had your whole life. Against air, you have time to think about it in that rep and correct it. And it's on your mind. In a game, in pressure situations, sometimes things always revert back to the way you've always done them.
Yep.
That's the biggest challenge for any athlete is taking what I've worked on all off season when nobody's guarding me and there's no pressure to Ohio State game.
Yep.
And then you revert back.
And apply it real time.
You're not going to revert back against air. You're going to revert back under pressure. Mm-hmm. So that to me is like, I'm not making too much of what I see on air. I mean, no offense, I'm not ragging on the guy. Malik Murphy once won the accuracy contest at Elite 11. He hasn't completed over 60% from high school to college in his career, maybe 60.1. He's never been an accurate quarterback. So on air, I don't really care about what do you do in a game. And so for Arch, it's all these guys, it's going to come down to what you do in a game. What do you do under pressure?
It's a great point. Yeah. It is hard to do that too. That's why it takes so long to reprogram yourself as an athlete. Because once you got that's why bad coaching can really mess you up, because bad program, you got to kind of rewire yourself as an athlete. And that's that off season you're talking about too. But then, when the fit hits the shan, sometimes you just kind of go back to what you know. And sometimes that's bad wiring, bad programming. All right, one last super chat. OTF fam number one. He said, "Rob, sorry, we are family fam." I thought you said fam, my bad. No, I know. I talk fast, so I probably sound like I said OTF fam, but no. And Brad, you can just throw that out there. You didn't have to attach a super chat to that. But you know what? Just for you, brother, we're gonna end the show for OTF fam number one. But gotcha. Gonna end the show with the helmet on for you, man. You know what I mean? So we appreciate the love. From all of y'all, by the way, not just OTF fam number one, but from Coach Scott, Edward, Matthew, Rocky B, as always, Darius, Justin, Texas on my mind, D-Train, Brown _love. We appreciate all y'all in the super chats, man. Meant a lot. Sorry we couldn't get to all the questions. You guys had great questions. Couldn't get to all of them. But if you do have a question that's a burning question, you got to get somebody to answer it. You got to get Jerry or Bobby. Matter of fact, those two gentlemen will be on with you bright and early tomorrow morning on Coffee and Football. That'll be starting up at 8:15 a.m. You don't want to miss that. Also, you'll have our Monday night live stream, the Winning Drive, the Primetime Edition, with myself, Coach Bob Shipley, and CJ Vogel will be on that one. That'll be at 7 p.m. promptly. So if you want to have one of your questions answered, you can throw them out to either one of those live streams tomorrow. Let me also remind you that we do have a special happening over at OnTexasFootball.com. $3. All right. You can get $3, 3 months of coverage for just $3. You won't beat that deal. Limited time offer right now. Happening at OnTexasFootball.com. Practice coverage, breaking news, complete team coverage, insider access, recruiting intel, all there available for you there at OnTexasFootball.com. But right now, you won't find a better deal than that. $3 for 3 months of coverage of the best coverage of Texas football around. All right. Thank you very much to Blake behind the scenes. Blake did a great job of producing the show. Thank him for stepping up. Yes, I should say that very often. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Thanks for y'all support. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for the questions, the participation. Thank you, Jerry. Great job as always. Thanks to our sponsors, Prize Picks and Von Lane. And for Jerry and for Blake, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em.